So in this video, I want to quickly touch on some of the main points I'll be looking at in GameStop's earnings report. Of course, I'll be reading it head to toe, line by line. Definitely be sure to catch my live stream during earnings, or actually after rather, around 6 p.m. Eastern. But getting right into it, of course, I'll be looking at the DRS count. Not only will I be looking at the DRS count, I'll be looking at how the DRS count is represented. Is it going to say X amount of shares are held at the company's transfer agent, or is it going to say this amount of shares are held in Seed & Co., this amount of shares are held in individuals' names? So that'll certainly be interesting. But getting into the actual fundamentals of the company beyond DRS count and DRS representation, I'm looking at, obviously, top line, cost of goods, selling and general administrative costs. So really my focus this quarter is on the statement of operations. I want to see how they're operating. Can they turn that net profit again? If they can do it in Q1, which is historically their weakest quarter, and just in general for retail companies, a weak quarter, if they can turn a profit in this quarter, I think it really says a lot about the cost cutting they're doing. And even if they don't, ultimately, I won't be disappointed because I'm really focused on the long term and where the company's going. And just the fact the earnings report is coming out is extremely exciting to me because I'm just excited to see the latest of what's happening with GameStop. What is new there? Is there a new little piece of information I might catch? What's going to change on the balance sheet? If you look at the cash flow statement specifically, I'm very curious about marketable securities. Some marketable securities will begin to mature, so we'll see that in the cash flow statement, as well as the potential purchase of additional marketable securities. And of course, I'll look at the bottom of the cash flow statement. Was it net positive? I expect it to be. I'm thinking maybe a couple $100 million, but that's a rough estimate. I'm not too sure. But ultimately, I'm also estimating EPS of 1 cent. I'm making that the official Tetron estimate, but allowed me to take this moment to say, I don't provide financial advice. I'm not an analyst, but I'm looking at the analyst expectation of negative 12 cents EPS, which is negative 36 million. And I really don't think they're taking the cost cutting seriously in terms of their expectations. Also, I think in general, when you have just 3 analysts covering it and it's like, oh, well, this is the expectation, give me a break. It's just 3 individuals out there. And I'm not saying I'm smarter than some analysts with all these degrees or whatever, but I'm just saying anybody can make their own estimates and do their own analysis, especially when you follow a company very closely. And in my case, I love GameStop. I follow it very closely. And I'm not saying I'm going to be very accurate, but what I'm saying is you should do your own analysis and your own determination of what you think the earnings are going to look like. And just look for some of these things I'm mentioning. Also, there's the revenue, cost of goods sold, selling and general administrative costs, but really looking at the balance sheet. How much is cash and cash equivalents? How much more is in marketable securities? When marketable securities mature, then it goes back to cash and cash equivalents. So we'll see, did they buy a lot more? Did they sell a lot more? Also, any commentary on expansion, GameStop player as a whole, maybe some murmurs of acquisitions, or if they even say we're exploring acquisitions right now. That'd be interesting. I know they said in the past, but just to bring it up again, could be an interesting little tidbit. But I don't expect them to take questions. I don't expect them to issue guidance. I expect a short and sweet earnings call. But yeah, I think that's pretty much it. And at the end of the day, just remember, if you're invested in the company, don't worry about the trade in the sense, don't worry about whatever happens to the stock price right after earnings. Just focus on the long term and where the company's going. Because in my eyes, if you're investing, you're long term, you're looking years out. Whereas if you're trading, you have a certain price target, a certain timeline, whatever it may be. So know thyself and have a good night.